Jobless numbers are in, and they are fantastic.
Whatever.
Now, that is a conservative reaction. In fact, there's already a conspiracy theory about this. But first, let's give you the numbers. 7.8%. Now, understand this is fantastic within context. These are not great numbers overall, but given where we were, given the state of the election, 7.8%. It used to be 8.1%. That's a significant drop-off. 114,000 jobs have been added. That's why the unemployment number goes down. And July and August were revised so that 86,000 jobs were added to those as well. By the way, that happens all the time. They go back and revise the numbers up and down all the time. The Bureau of Labor Statistics does that. Number of unemployed
Bureau of Obama statistics.
Yeah, so probably their labor czar labor. Okay. Number of unemployed Americans is now at 12.1 million. Here's an interesting fact about that. That is the fewest since January of 2009 when President Obama took office. Remember, in the beginning, we were losing jobs at a clip of 750,000 a month, which is unbelievable. When President Obama took office in the middle of the recessions, created obviously by the Republicans and George Bush. Those are facts. And then here are two other really good stats. Jobs have been added for 24 straight months now, and there are now 325,000 more jobs than when President Obama took office.
873,000 Americans, Cenk, reported finding jobs in September. That's the so-called household survey. That's where most of these jobs came from. That is the highest monthly number since 1983.
Yeah, so obviously these are really positive numbers right before an election, and if the election wasn't already over, if I hadn't already called it 2 weeks ago, I might think about calling it now.
Why, as we get into the conspiracy, why was there no conspiracy last month when the numbers, which we thought might be good because they were okay in June, but lousy in July, or okay in July and lousy in August, I can't remember which one, the thought that it would be better, and it wasn't. Why wasn't that sort of people with the Bureau of Labor Statistics playing with the numbers for Romney?
Because they were waiting to lower the boom in the next month. Come on, look. Right now, Romney has poll numbers that are doing much better after the debate. Now, what's funny is that Fox News doesn't seem to be questioning that. Before the poll numbers, when Obama was doing well, they're like, oh, the poll, truth, there's no way. Now the polls are in Romney's favor a little bit, or they're trending in that direction. Fox is like, fantastic. These poll numbers are obviously accurate.
Michael and I were watching Fox News this morning without the sound, which is really the only way an American can watch Fox News. And they had those poll numbers, which we'll get to momentarily. There were good poll numbers from Rasmussen and We Ask America for Romney in Ohio, Virginia, and Florida. And that was on the screen, those poll numbers, for 90 seconds at a minimum, filling the whole screen. And then they swooshed and did a screen of the jobless report, and it said unemployment drops 7.8%. Done. Back. Off the screen.
90 seconds versus like 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. And 90 seconds, by the way, in television is an eternity to leave up a graphic. So
Yeah, I thought something was broken. I did. I was like the TV machine is broken.
Right. That's funny. So now, since the job numbers are so good for President Obama and the economy, by the way, which of course all Americans should theoretically be celebrating, obviously here come the Republicans with their conspiracy theories. This one, interestingly, started by Jack Welch, former CEO of GE. He tweets, unbelievable jobs numbers. These Chicago guys will do anything. Can't debate, so change numbers. Now, let me just note before we go on to the others, what great irony there is in that. Do you know that GE had to pay a $50 million fine for cooking their numbers for over a decade? Started by Jack Welch. So it takes one to know one. Obviously, he thinks, I cooked my numbers. We had to pay a $50 million fine, so I assume they cooked their numbers. So that's how a lot of this stuff starts on the right-wing side, and then it takes off like a wildfire. Keith Urban, no, there's nothing at all curious about the last jobs report diving to 7.8% unemployment before the election. Eric Bolling from Fox, wow, Labor Department, 7.8%, smarter than all 25 America's top economists? Or something far more insidious?
What does that mean?
That means the economists expected it to be 8.2%, he claims, And so since it didn't come in with, but by the way, this is the first time that Fox News has ever said, trust the economists.
Trust the top 25 economists.
Right.
Good. Great. Let's keep trusting those top 25 economists, and we'll see which economic plan they endorse.
Yeah. And by the way, that's actually in. They rate President Obama's, the top economists in the country, rate President Obama's economic plan substantially better, more likely to create jobs, et cetera, than they do Romney's. Fox News, curiously enough, has not quoted them on that.
Just on that. Just that. Thank you, Eric Bolling.
Yeah. Alan West, of course, congressman from Florida. In regards to today's jobs report, agree with former GE CEO Jack Welch. Chicago-style politics is at work here. Laura Ingraham, from, of course, talk show host on the right wing. Jobs from Labor Secretary Hilda Solis are totally pro-Obama propaganda. Labor force participation rate at 30-year low. Abysmal.
I love how happy they are that America is back to work.
Yeah, they seem ecstatic
They're
about it.
thrilled. They're delighted.
Right.
You know, I remember, you know, as we go back to 2004 and looking for the bad economic signs, and, you know, and as every economist who I heard saying this morning, not so much every economist, but also every statistician, every sort of everybody who studies these labor statistics, they all were like, look, there's a lot of noise in this. These things move up and down. It's totally possible that it moved here, and that's a good sign. It doesn't mean that we're going to see a growth next month or more unemployment, more jobs created, lower unemployment. So we know that's going to go on. But I remember back in 2004 when that would happen, being torn. But I knew to shut up if George Bush got a good number. I knew that you can't think, well, I can't be unhappy that the economy has made some progress. I can't. You can't think that.
Of course.
These guys are just not moved by that.
Yeah, no, they didn't even think about that.
Didn't even think about it.
It didn't occur to them. So now there, Laura Ingraham is positing that this is a political conspiracy. Interesting, because the Bureau of Labor Statistics is supposed to have a political appointment. So the president appoints the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Makes sense. Except the Republicans have been blocking the Obama appointee since February. So there is no political appointment that's leading the Bureau of Labor Statistics, meaning the Bureau of Labor Statistics has no political appointments in it at this point at all. They are just civil servants.
Yeah, they're statisticians. They're professionals.
Right, and they've been there, God knows, a lot of them different.
10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
Through Republicans, through Democrats, et cetera. And of course, when the jobs numbers were terrible or abysmal, as Laura Ingraham says, they never accused these statisticians of being wrong then, right?
Right, and of course, then they weren't. And so in a scenario where we've already laid out month after month of sort of the economic news that has been portrayed as bad or certainly not good enough, right? These guys didn't do anything, but yet Obama was still winning. So they decided to inexplicably jeopardize the fact that the Americans seem to be saying, yeah, I get it, it's getting a little better, not good enough, but I don't like this Romney guy. They decided to jeopardize that storyline, which has happened, I guess, authentically, and risk literally losing the election by engaging in a conspiracy of pretty widespread, since I'm just guessing that isn't one sheet read by one person.
Yeah.
Right? So they've risked, it's probably exposed to states, who knows? Who knows how many people they got involved in this with, where if they did cook it, then that is exactly the kind of scandal that causes the president an election.
Yeah, of course. And there's so many people involved. There's no way you could contain that kind of conspiracy. I mean, this is like 9/11 conspiracies. This is like we didn't land on the moon kind of conspiracy. But, you know, on that one, right? But that's what these guys do now. They are serial fact deniers. I mean, Stephen Colbert might have had the greatest line ever, right? Reality has a well-known liberal bias. I mean, when they hit reality, their heads explode. God damn it, we don't like that reality. We're going to change the reality. They've been doing it for 30 years. They've been doing it through propaganda. So whenever it happens, they're like, okay, here we go again. Let's just cook up a new reality and put our propaganda in place of it. And of course, the headquarters for that is Fox News Channel. Let's go to Stuart Varney.
There is widespread mistrust of this report and these numbers because there are clear contradictions. 873,000 people said they had found work, but only 114,000 new jobs were created. That is a contradiction. If you delve a little deeper, it seems that a lot of these people who found work, that's the 873,000. If you look deeply, it turns out that 600,000 of those 873,000 people were part-time workers. So they came back into the labor force and they pushed the unemployment rate down to 7.8%. But there's a contradiction here.
They got him.
They got him. You know, that's why it didn't fall to 5%, because they they take that into account, the part-time jobs that you're talking about. That's how this works, my friend.
Okay, so we bothered to fact check Fox News. I mean, I
right.
know this guy's totally full, but I said, all right, look, let's cover all of our bases, okay? So, okay, I'm like, all right, let's assume for a second there's a conspiracy with the part-time workers. Well, then, obviously, this would be the first time that they're counting part-time workers, whereas before they wouldn't count part-time workers, but they cooked the numbers by counting. So we looked back and of course they count the part-time workers in all the stats. They've been doing it this whole time when we had bad unemployment numbers. They were counting the part-time workers, right? So this is not something new. This is how it's done every single time.
How is that guy their economics expert?
Because he has a British accent.
Yeah,
That's
he does.
exactly what it is.
He does sound smart.
Yeah, continuing here.
That's where some of the mistrust comes in. Oh, how convenient that the rate drops below 8% for the first time in 43 months, 5 weeks before an election. That's why there's some mistrust of these numbers.
And it's such a great Fox News thing to do, to say people are talking about it. There's mistrust out there. Who? You guys!
You're talking about it in your newsroom.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
so shocking. It turns out there's mistrust of the Obama administration inside the Fox News newsroom.